Helen, can I get some water in here or something?
Yeah, no problem, right away. Okay, no, we need it now. Okay, stand by. 60 seconds.
Buzz, is it me? Is that what it is? I can't hear you. Yeah, turn up the gain.
You see that? You see that?
This
Every time
box
you
at the
guys
top
slam
of the
that
stairs.
thing, that's a
Fire
fire
hazard.
hazard.
We should get a squad suit up.
Come on, man. Yeah, let's try to get one back.
Thank you.
Hi, Brian McWhorter here with another safety moment with Safeopedia. You know, that's kind of the problem with dangers. You don't always recognize it. It might find us before we see it. It's kind of like swimming. You don't have to worry about the alligators in the pond that you can see. It's the ones you don't see that you got to worry about it. This is why when it comes to safety, for any safety program, they always begin with hazard assessments. You use a form often called a HIRA. I know an acronym. Stands for Hazard Identification and Risk Assessment. Remember, it always begins, whatever your safety program is, for any institution, it begins by hazard identification. We want to surface those alligators. We want to know what dangers are lurking out there that people could be exposed to. When I'm teaching safety, I'll often begin by teaching the difference between a hazard and danger. We can be around hazards all day long and never be in danger if, for each hazard, we've identified the risk associated with that hazard and put a control measure in place to keep us safe. So when I'm coaching people who are new to safety, I always tell them start by creating your HIRAs, those hazard identification forms. So the components of a HIRA go like this. You're going to write down every job or task that's associated with the work or the environment that people are in and the tasks they're doing. So you'll list all those. Then you'll list the potential risks that go along with those tasks. If you're standing working all day, you might have risks associated with that, like ergonomics issues, if they're having to work in unnatural ways, repetitive motion, dealing with electricity or power tools. What's the environment like? Are they in a hot factory where heat-related illness is an issue and you need to watch hydration? When you're working on your HIRA, that hazard identification and risk assessment, before starting to look at the control measures, we want to identify what risks provide the greatest danger, kind of like those alligators are the closest, and deal with them first. Again, we have limited time and resources, so we want to make sure that we take care of those greatest risks first. So there's actually a rating that you give risk based on exposure level, severity, and probability. So for every identified risk, how often are people exposed to it? We'll say if they're in a hot work environment, we could say they're exposed to it, all the time. So you give that a high rating. That second one, severity. If they were to be injured from that risk, are we looking at a potential band-aid or a fatality? Again, the greater the severity, the higher the rating. And the last one there is probability. In your best judgment, what's the likelihood that this type of injury could happen? Has it happened in the past? Is it fairly common? So again, you want to give each one of those a numerical value, add them together, and go after the ones with the highest ratings first. OSHA actually has a hierarchy of control measures that they want you to use when you're coming up with the safety measures to protect people from those identified risks. And they go like this: elimination, engineering controls, administrative controls, and then PPE. So they've got it ranked in terms of effectiveness. Can you eliminate the danger, the risk altogether? Can you remove dangerous equipment with safer equipment? If not, then let's go with engineering controls. You've got exposed moving parts, let's build guards. You have lots of noise, well, let's use soundproofing material. Can we encase in that? So again, if you can't eliminate, engineering controls. Then the next is administrative controls, putting policies in place. But you're putting policies in place to help, again, keep people safe. Kind of like a guard on the shore watching for those alligators with a rifle. And the last one is PPE. Just because PPE is the last does not mean it's not effective. PPE can be extremely effective. Just try removing a hot cookie tray from an oven without an oven mitt. Again, extremely effective. So again, if you're starting a safety program, or even if you've had one in place for a while, the foundation of it is your HIRA, Hazard Identification and Risk Assessment. They need to be reviewed often. You create all your standard work based off them and make sure that you've identified all your hazards, you've identified the risk associated with those hazards, and you put control measures in place. Again, we want to identify the danger and put protective measures in place so that we're safe. We could have dangers all around us and not know it. We need a regular effort to identify these and make sure they're safe. We need to put in place, just got a funny feeling. We need to make sure that we've got in place a system to identify or look for hazards on a regular basis, keep that HIRA up to date, and use it often. Again, we need to surface those alligators and know what we're dealing with. Until next time, Brian McCorder with Safeopedia. Stay safe.